Beauties, and welcome to the Bumpy Bones Locksport channel. Now, in today's video, I'm going to be covering the 1100 series of American Lock and how I learned how to pick it, and I'm actually going to do a pick video. I'm going to gut it, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my approach to learning how to pick these. Now, this was a lock that I just recently accomplished. Actually, a couple of days ago was the first time I was actually able to successfully pick one of these. So they're a good challenge lock if you are a newbie lock picker. And it's kind of a milestone of a lock as well, because this is kind of like the gateway into the more complex locks and learning kind of how to do some of those other locks like Pack or other brands outside of Master Lock. So I'll be talking a little bit about that in this video. But first, let's go ahead and start with the picking of this lock. So this is also a video I'm going to be using for my green belt submission with the Lockpickers United Green Belts, our belt system. So just to show you that the lock is working fully. And then we'll go ahead and throw the key in there, pop it open. You can see that it's a good solid lock. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use top of the keyway tension for this. Now, you can use bottom of the keyway tension. Finding a bar, though, that kind of fits in there without pinching the bottom and giving you enough room to work is a problem that I've had with American Lock. So top of the keyway tension, at least for me and a lot of other lock pickers, I think, is the way to go with American Lock. But with my hands, I've always had problems with top of the keyway tension. So I've been using the Sparrow's curved bar tension, or curved tension bar here. I really like it. It's actually one of the more comfortable ones for me. You can get these curved tension bars through Covert Instruments. I do like them. They are actually very comfortable. Like if I'm having a lot of problems with my finger here, I'll use that one, but I'm more used to this right now, so I'm going to go ahead and use the Sparrow's curved bar, and this is their 1.2 millimeter tension bar. And now I'm going to be using my Sparrow Monkey Paw, and this is the long hook, and this is the 0.020 with Monkey Paw pick. So let's go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with 5, springy on 5, springy on 4. All right, so 3, I got some good tension. All right, got a good click. And I overset. Let me reset. All right. Of course, when you record, that's where you have to start running into the problem. Sorry, so 3 seems set. Got a good click on 2. Couple of good clicks out 1. Those seem good. All right, let's go back to 5. All right, good. Couple of good clicks out 5. All right, couple of good clicks out 4. 3's good. 2's good. 1 seems to be good. All right, so I got another click out of 5, and I'm in the false set now. So, all right, 4 seems to be a spool pin. So when I push up, I'm getting counter rotation. There we go. And we're open. All right, so let's go ahead and open up this lock and gut it and see what we got on the inside here. So I'm going to go ahead and just take my tension bar, reset the lock there, and let me get my pinning tray and a screwdriver here. So one thing I like about the American locks are they are easy to open and repin. So you got a screw that pretty much holds everything in place, and that's a nice Phillips head. Take that out. Core comes out really nice and easy. Now, with American Lock, they do use retaining clips on the end, so you have to take that off. I like using this wrench I got from Sparrows with it. Do be careful, though, because they do have a habit of flying off when you take them off, and when they fly off, they often will open up a gate to oblivion somehow. and you will never see it again. So you do want to be careful. And these are I have not been able to find replacements for these yet. I have been looking all over the place, and they just do not want to show me, or I can't really find them. So once we get that open, I'm going to go ahead and use the key here to rotate that. Take my fouler and remove the core without spilling the pins. All right, so let's take a look at the key pins here first. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, 4, and then 5. All right, now let's look at our security pins. So for 1, we've got a serrated. 2 is also serrated. 3 looks to be serrated as well. Oh, 3 is a serrated spool pin. 4 is a serrated spool pin, and then 5 is a serrated pin. All right. So there we have it. Now, this is one thing that I do like about American Lock is that on the key pins, they actually do serrate the key pins as well at the top. And so if you overset the pin, it actually keeps that pin up, and you have to also work with that. So it's just a different level. In comparison, on like the Master Lock 930DF, which would be kind of the equivalent 5-pin Master Lock, which is about twice as expensive as these. They only use regular pins, and I think they also use regular driver pins. So that's one thing that I like about the American Lock. So there we go. There's our pick and gut video for that. But now I do want to talk a little bit about how I learned to pick this lock and my approach to that. So with the American Lock 1100 series, there are actually a couple different ways that you can tackle it. One way is by using a bypass driver. Now this really is kind of cheating, but I do want to show it off a little bit. I got this one from Sparrows. I also have one on my Covert Companion here. I did run into a problem with them though. The heads of the drivers were a little too thick, and so they weren't fitting into the mechanism too well for me to rotate it. So I actually had to grind them down a bit and lower the profile a bit. I also added a little bit of a slope at the top, and they work beautifully now. So the way that these work is they will bypass the cylinder here. So you'll stick it right down the cylinder, and you'll put it in this little area here. And this is where the shelf that rotates the locking mechanism. So when you turn the key, that rotates that locking mechanism. Well, what you're going to do is, rather than using the actual cylinder to rotate it, you're going to use the bypass driver to rotate it. So if I use it on my cutaway lock here, you'll see once I get that in there, if I start rotating it, you'll see the mechanism in the lock actually rotate, and that pops that lock open. And after I did the grinding and all of that and modified this, it actually works really well now. I can go through all my American locks and, as you can see, pop them open with ease. So that's a nice thing about the bypass driver, but it is kind of cheating. And so when you're doing kind of Locksport and lockpicking, you want to single pick the locks open. You want to actually manipulate it so that you can get them open a little bit, or using picks and all that stuff. So what I did was I actually gutted the lock right away, or one of my locks. Actually, I used my cutaway lock first. I got this from Covert Instruments. I love the cutaway locks because they show the mechanisms of the locks and the internals, and so as you're trying to learn where the pins are, you can actually see what's going on. The only thing that is a little bit on the downside of using the cutaway locks, it does change the way that the driver pins behave a bit, because you are removing one side of the holes that they're in. And so you can't get the friction or the feedback 360 degrees. It's So it is a bit different from when you're actually picking a lock that's not cut away. Um, and so what I would do is I went through and I replaced all the security pins with just regular driver pins. And so this removes the element of having to learn the feedback or the characteristic of the different types of pins because they're nice and smooth. And so I started with those, and that allowed me to get a good feel of the location of the pins, and navigating the keyway itself, without having to also factor in all the other stuff that happens with security pins. So once I got that down, I went through and I replaced the regular driver pin with spool pins. Now I didn't do the serrated spool pins right away. I just used regular spool pins. And that way, that then gave me the feel for the false sets and counter rotation that would be needed for the spool pins. And then once I got done with that, I then went through and replaced those with serrated pins, and that gave me the feel of the clicking and the resistance that you would get with the serrated pin. So these will mimic when you set the pin. And so if you have, say, like a really low um, key pen, so say like number 2 or 3, so like say this back one here, you actually have to get through several clicks or 3 or 4 clicks on this before you actually hit the true set. um and then once I got used to those, then I threw in the original pins that came with it, the serrated spool pins and the serrated pins. And after I did that, it only took me about an hour to an hour and a half to actually pick the lock open. Now, the other thing I do need to point out is with the key pins, you'll see that they actually have serration on them too. And that's the nice thing with the American lock. Master Lock doesn't do it unless you go with one of their high-end locks, I find. But what happens with that serrated key pin, is that if you overset the pin, it actually feels like you may have set it. And so it just adds another layer of another element to it, that you just have to keep track of and all that. So I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Again, feel free to like the video, comment, and everyone have a beautiful day.